Good morning, Barry.
Oh, yes.
Well,
Well, let's bring this right out on for the camera to see.
there it is. Yeah, look at that.
Wow, check this thing out, man.
What's going on, everybody? Metal down here. Welcome to the Truth in Our Music, and we're taking this opportunity to show Paul, our new friend Paul here, the Morning Star and the mascot of said Morning Star Entertainment. My buddy Dave went crazy after he was done building this in the shop on the base one day, and he said, I gotta get rid of all my weapons. And he's just like, Brian. I was just like, what? He said, do you want them? Before he had the words come out of his mouth, I was like, yes, go get it now.
That's cool.
That is, man.
So this is the Morning Star. This is my medieval weapon of mass destruction.
Well, you know, it's great when you think about that. Like, Paul's a big fighter too, right? So as we get into it, but
Hold it.
old medieval
Hold it.
combat,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, that's awesome.
A guy was in a suit and armor, and you
Also
couldn't
known
cut
as-
him with your sword, so you just beat him until his head rang with the Morning Star, right? Like, it's just like,
Paul is
wow.
also known as the Viking in his sweat lodge circles.
Oh yeah, he's
Careful
a
with
Viking.
the microphone there, Paul.
That's perfect. Whoops, sorry about the microphone.
I just don't want you hitting him.
I don't want to break things.
It's a brand I haven't even finished paying for it yet. I'm still
Yeah.
renting it.
That's right. I'll be breaking it for you before you even get a chance.
It's all good. And then we have Thadius here again with us today.
Hey, good to be back. Good to see everybody too. Yeah. And Paul is a good friend of mine. We're Sweat Lodge brothers. Well, we meet back in 2019 at a Sweat Lodge, actually, a few years back. And Paul's been one of my inspirations because he's quite the character, let's just say. And so when you get to know him and you see all the stories and the life, he's 60 years old. I mean, he's out there working in the woods, living all day, cutting woods, cords of wood, everything else you wouldn't be able to tell it. And just a magnificent guy to have on the show. So glad to bring him in, Brian, and glad to have you here, Paul. So it's
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the new setup too, by the way. No
Yeah,
microphones
this
in
is
your
great,
face.
right?
Hope you guys can hear us well over there. It looks like we're coming in on the
We're coming
fast track there.
Yeah.
I can see good levels there.
in. Good.
Anyway, we're here. We're going to open up with Todd telling us a little bit about Friday the 13th because we're on Friday the 13th and there's a lot of misconceptions that happen with the number 13 on Friday the 13th. I know it's a big topic here in my house because my stepdaughter Hannah had her big accident on Friday the 13th and she was out of commission, almost died, saw the light and everything, came back. And Todd, if you could do us the honor of giving us some information on Friday the 13th while I light our Friday the 13th candle.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's go, because this is a bit of a journey, if you will. To go to the Friday the 13th, we really got to go to the 14th century, which is in 1307 AD. And the head of the Templar order was burnt to death on Friday the 13th in the October at that time, and he cursed the church. The church at that time had gone on anything with the 13 because it represented the divine feminine. And the church had been taken over as a patriarchy. We talked about this before. In the 13th century is when that really started with the witch hunts and the Inquisition and everything else. And basically the same people in charge that are globalists today were the people in charge of France and that. So they went against what we would know as the Catharians, the Viking early church, which was the round churches of Norway, and the Celtic Irish church. And these Catharians had a feminine belief, and the 13 represents your inner world, right? Because 13 times 28 gives you 364 days. And so the 13 months are the lunar months. So we are having a supermoon coming up here on Monday or Sunday on the 16th. It's also a blood moon on the 16th. And as it picks up, it's going to be a very powerful kind of a change. So the 13 is based off the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the earth, and the cycles of the feminine and the divine feminine. The cycle of 12 is based for your two eyes, right? Because it's based off the sun and the sun's movement. So we take Brihaspataye, which is this Jupiter, which travels around the sun every 12 years. That's a solar cycle. And in that 12 years, we learn a lesson and we use our eyes. But the moon does 13 cycles per year around the earth. And in doing so, and that's when you have that blue moon, because you get the two grand full moons in the new month. Well, that's for your mind's eye. And that's for your inner experience, and for cleaning out your inside. Because that's how the moon affects us. In First Nations teachings, right? So we have grandfather sun and grandmother moon. We know that both are sacred. The light of the moon and everything is sacred. It's not that 13 has ever been bad as a number. It was just under the Inquisition of the Jesuits, they really just hated anything that supported the divine feminine. I mean, the Holy Spirit, the Sophia Christo that was hidden, was a divine feminine. And to this day, people, because you need yin and yang, right? So yang being masculine, so the void, and then there was the mother, which is matter, and then there's the sun, which came directly from, right? So the Holy Trinity, or the triune. And it's all attached in there, but it was all hidden. And so when they started the Inquisition and everything else, they made 13th became a bad number, because anybody who was a healer, even if they're a Christian healer or anything else, the church would kill them. And that's really where that 13 came back. But we'll try to change it. Interesting, when the last parfait of our order, whose name was Guillaume Bilbassier, was burnt by the Catholic Church in Languedoc, France, in 1321. He cursed the church that in 700 years, the Catholic order would be back and they would take down the Catholic Church. So,
let me guess, that's where we are now.
That's exactly where we are right now. 700 years later. So yeah, that's the 13. So it was, they tried to change everything, and that's when Satan really took over the Catholic Church, was in the 13th century. That's when he got the full grips, and the Jesuits and all that, right?
Hannah's interrupting us with a TikTok video again.
Uh-oh.
It's a
Is it a good one?
song. Well, it's a song, but it's also about like the Johnny Depp thing,
Yeah.
and it's really funny.
I used to be respected. People took me at my word.
Well, see, Johnny Depp right now, that's the biggest distraction, is it not, from everything else that's going on? It really is. It's like, here, media's got like, hey, look this way, and we can't help it. And I'd really like to see a lot more come out of the Johnny Depp case. It's such a potential to release the real dirt behind Hollywood, but they don't, right? Well, instead, they keep it kind of focused.
21 Jump Street.
There
was
somebody that was found guilty of grooming.
Yeah.
From Birmingham.
Yeah.
They're from Birmingham. So there's little pieces coming out here and there of people.
Well, that's good. I'd like to see a little bit more on that, but that's it.
Well, they're distracting us with things like Johnny Depp, but it's also bringing light to the fact that men can be abused by women as well.
52% of domestic abuse is men. And the reason, when I was a firefighter, I never believed in that stuff, right? But then I became a firefighter, and you get the 911 call. And those 6 years I was a firefighter, I really saw a lot of men that were the receivers of the domestic violence. And I never thought of that growing up, or just in my mindset. It just wasn't there, but it was a lot more than I had expected, that's for sure. And somebody had told me at the time, anyways, it was probably, I haven't checked it lately, but that 52% was women attacking men over men attacking women. It's just like other things, right? It's just societal kind of norms and stuff. It's not really brought up as much. But yeah, no, it does bring light to that. And it brings light to this. So my friend Paul here, and the biggest thing that impresses me is that he's been 35 years sober, clean, right? Yeah. And how'd you get there, man? How'd you do that? 35 years, right? Because okay, let's get this. My father was an alcoholic. I don't drink. And
most
one of the
people
reasons,
can't get a year.
yeah, like I don't drink, and Paul's been a gift in my life, because I see this man that I look up to. My father was a carpenter. He's a carpenter working on this, and now he's 35 years sober. It inspires me, right? Because it's like, man, it kind of heals my past in this, and it's just really, because you're a tough man like my old man was too. So like, How did that happen? How did 35 years sober happen?
Well, in all honesty, I'm given a daily reprieve contingent upon my spiritual condition. And if I'm not spiritually sound, the chance of me picking up a drink or a drug would happen.
So how do you get a daily reprieve, man? What is that?
The daily reprieve is given to me by grace, by believing in God. If you don't believe in God, right? They tell you that, to ask. And I remember when I first came to AA, they said, Like, when I was first involved with it, I said, "Who the hell do you ask?" And they said, "Just ask." Right? So, I asked. I said, give me another day of sobriety. Give me another day of
What brought you
clean
there?
time.
What brought you?
I went to AA because of the feeling of impending doom that I got on my last night of using and drinking. I had the feeling that God had put his hand down on me. He said, "That's it. You're done. You're finished. You're over. If you continue to do what you're doing and live the way you're living, you're going to die." It's called the feeling of impending doom. And if you've ever felt it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I felt it in my heart, in my soul, in my innermost being. I felt it. And anything I did that night at that party that I was at, I never got any change inside, because when I used alcohol and drugs, I used alcohol and drugs to change the way I feel inside.
Mhm.
That's the whole reason why I did it. So that's how I know I was drinking alcoholically. I wasn't drinking to be a social drinker. That was not part of my drinking experience. My way of drinking was to get drunk. I drank till I was allowed.
To forget.
Just how I drank. Because I wanted to change the way I felt inside. So that's alcoholic drinking. That's alcoholic behavior. A social drinker can leave a half a glass of wine at the table and walk away. An alcoholic, he's not going to leave that half a glass of wine. He's going to finish it. Simple as that. Because it sets off a craving. Once I take one, that's it. One's too many and thousand's not enough.
When was your first drink, man?
Oh, I was drinking when I was about 10, 11, 12 years old. I was just a young fella.
Yeah, okay, so
My grandfather was a bootlegger down in Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia, of all places. And they had these big barrels. And they put rum barrels. And they put water and sugar and they stirred them. And they had these jugs. You could put your thumb in the jug and put it up over your shoulder. You're man enough to have a drink. And I watched all my fishermen uncles and family members drinking as a little boy. And eventually I mastered getting that thumb in the big jug. As I said, you can pick her up and have a drink. You can have a drink. You're man enough to drink that.
So it started out young.
So I started out really young, yeah. And I was involved in martial arts really young too. I started.
you were a fighter, like,
I did a lot of fighting.
and you like.
What kind of martial arts were you into?
I was into karate and boxing at first, amateur boxing, and then I got into kickboxing, Muay Thai actually.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did pretty good at that.
You fought in the ring.
Fought professionally. I didn't fight amateur. I was that good. I can go right in the ring and fight.
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time. I had my DNA done by a girlfriend who paid for one of those things to find out what you're made of. Your little bits and baubles. That's the way she called it.
Yeah.
To see where you're.
23 and me stuff, right?
Ancestry.com stuff?
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of thing. So we sent it over to Europe, wherever she bought this thing from, and it was pretty expensive. It was a Christmas gift. And I
I wish
came
I had a watermelon to show you what that does.
and I came back. They came back. I was quite fascinated with my DNA thing. 74% Denmark, North American, or 16% North American native, which I never had any idea I had native in me, because I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. But I'm 74% Viking, which is from Denmark, from where I'm from to Denmark, which is the capital of all the Vikings.
Yep.
5% Scottish and 5% Irish. And that's it. 4 things. And she was like completely amazed herself because she thought, I'd have way more in me of different races. And I only have 4 races. Even the genealogy people were shocked that I only had 4 for being a North American.
Really?
Really. Like really rare, they said.
No, it's interesting.
So
Especially nowadays, yeah.
So this goes with the I got small fists. Goes with the man with stone hands, they called me when I was in boxing in Fort McMurray, Alberta. I joined an all-native boxing club, the Clearwater Boxing Club. And my friends were Commonwealth gold medal boxing champions. They went to Ireland, Scotland, England. They never lost a fight. Darren and Wayne Burke. Darren was in my grade 8 class in Fort McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go there, and I was the only white guy that ever lasted at this native boxing club. And they pounded the daylights out of me every week. I didn't know how to box, but I could fight.
Yeah.
Well, Paul
And that was the
went
thing.
across the country, right? Your stepfather was.
Yeah, my dad was a bead pressure welder, so we went all over the place. I went to 2 or 3 different schools in a year. I was always the new kid on the block, sort of thing. So you got to learn how to protect yourself.
Always constantly looking up and having them come at you because they don't know who you are.
Because all the girls like me, because I'm a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed.
New guy in town too, right?
All the girls loved me, and all the guys hated me. So I mean, I had
Fresh meat.
Fresh
Get
meat,
away
from our women.
Exactly.
I live here now too.
So anyway, that was kind of how it worked out for me. So my boxing friends told me, they said, "You're like Roberto Duran, the man with stone hands. We don't know where your power comes from, but when you hit us with 16-ounce boxing gloves on, it hurts." And I didn't know I had this Viking power at the time. I had no idea. But it makes sense now.
Yeah.
But at that time of my life, I was still in like Composite High in Fort McMurray.
Get the ginger gene.
Going to high school, I was knocking people out one punch. I watch people fight. They hit people, they don't fall down. I used to hit people and they hit the ground. The fight would be over. And this is what these guys told me. They said, if you want to go pro, you'll go all the way. Even though you suck at boxing, they said to me, you're still going to win. Because you hit so hard. We don't know where you get your power from. You do everything wrong. But you can hit us at all different odd angles. And it stings when you're hitting us. And we're champions. We don't even want to spar with you. You know what I mean? So it made sense.
Well, that was it. But he was drinking. Really.
And I was
That's
drinking,
25. That's what I mean.
age
This is
was
it.
25,
In the
I
ring, just dropping people, going on.
Fighting, right?
Who is the big guy that we used to like in the old UFC? Tank Abbott.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
that like hard, just coming in and just
Yeah.
pounding guys, right? Just being that. But that,
So yeah, even in my older age, like at 53, I sparred with the state of Jalisco Muay Thai kickboxing champion in Puerto Vallarta at the stadium. They have a big stadium where you can run, and there's an outdoor boxing ring there. And I was just there working out one day, and he was asking guys if they wanted to get in the ring. And
are you allowed
spar
to
with
talk about why you were there, like doing bodyguard work?
I was working as a bodyguard on American Beauty. It's a big sailboat that a rich American guy from Alaska owned.
Okay.
And he gave me the job because I knocked out 2 people that were trying to put him into a taxi one night out in front of a bar in Puerto Vallarta. I was just happened to be walking home from the gym. So anyway, I got that job that way. It was kind of a fluke. He was all bloodied up. I took him back to my place, like a good Samaritan thing. Put him on the couch, washed the blood off him. And when he got up the next day, he says, let's get a taxi. We're going down to the marina. I said, I don't want to go down to the marina. It's like $7 American for a cup of coffee down there. It's all millionaires, right?
Yeah.
Some of the nicest yachts in the world are there, right? Second most protected bay in the world is Honduras Bay there in Puerto Vallarta.
Really?
So that's why all the big rich people that have big yachts, their yachts are down there in that bay.
Where's Puerto Vallarta again?
It's in Mexico. It's on the Pacific coast.
Okay.
So anyway, so I was down there and I ended up with that. Jeffrey Culberson is the name of the guy that I worked for. And his family owned Mayflower Van Lines. It's like Allied Van Lines here in Canada.
Okay.
Nice,
And that's how he bought that sailboat. So anyway, he got knocked around by these Mexicans. I just happened to be coming by. I seen him. Next thing you know, I get a job. Just like that. He said, that's what I want to talk to you about. He says,
That's exactly how fucking shit fell into my lap there the other day.
Yeah, it was like-
just like that.
just unreal. Like,
Hey, what are you doing?
But don't you think, like honestly, when lessons I've learned in my life, it's that magnetism you put out is what you attract, right? So you made a noble fucking decision.
yeah, try
right?
to help this guy.
Yeah, you said this is a point of honor.
Yeah, it didn't
Right.
look like something was going down. It wasn't good.
When I tell people the difference between karma and dharma, right?
Yeah.
Karma is when you do shit for your own accord. But when you're walking down and you take a righteous action like you did, you then step into dharma. There's no karma attached to it.
Yeah.
And then you perform that action and good things come back your way, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did something else and then you're making karma, you ignored it, you've created karma that maybe in the future somebody will ignore your cry for help. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you took right action. So, and then that's an honorable warrior way, right? That code, I think, that anybody has, because Paul was also in the forces. And so
Where'd you serve?
Edmonton.
yeah. He was at 18 months way back when on the Q-tip program, right?
Okay.
So yeah. And
With the airborne.
Yeah.
Oh, no, all the story. I remember you telling me the story now.
Yeah.
Airborne.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the marijuana brain kicks in.
Oh yeah, well there you go. Right? Yeah, these
Well,
things happen.
really, I only
Well, that's
met-
why I got 7.62
Yeah.
milliliter full metal jacket all the way around my head.
Because you spill 7.62 milliliters of blood when you
Fuck up. Exactly, you know it, right?
Oh, make the grass wet. And then grows.
So anyway, that sailboat was a beautiful experience. I sailed all the way down the Pacific coast of Mexico down to the Panama Canal. It was beautiful with the dolphins and the, and
Okay,
the
but how do you
whales
handle
raising up
when
beside
everybody's
us.
on this boat drinking?
Oh, when the
Like,
people were drinking,
like
I
everybody's
just-
always drinking around you, and you seem to still be able to handle it.
I was able to handle it. I just turn it over, right?
Most people can't do that, right?
Turn it over.
So where's that power come from?
From God
Where do you meet God?
in my heart.
And where else? Sweat Lodge, right?
Yeah, different places. Yeah,
What's the Sweat Lodge to you?
it's a place where I go and pray.
We're gonna go Sunday, right?
Yeah, I love the Sweat Lodge. It's
You know,
gives me an opportunity to be me, right? And when I first went there, I felt like I'd always been there. And this is before I knew my Viking heritage. And Vikings used to do sweats with the natives.
I think
It's
Sweat
history.
Lodge shouldn't belong to any culture, really.
No, it's not anybody's culture. It's just something that
When I
you
was
can
in
go
Nepal, right, they do something very similar,
Similar,
and
yeah.
it's called the fire ceremony, right? Because
Right.
one of the ancient gods and everything is Agni, which is the fire god, right? So you have Agni, Vayu, the wind and stuff. So I was hanging out with the shamans in the mountains, and they're explaining that to me, right? But that fire ceremony is like, it's something that no matter where I've been in the world, it's the one thing that ties us together, right? It's really interesting.
Well, even in Mexico, I was invited to
Oh yeah, that
this
one.
adobe style lodge, and it looks like it's carved out of marble. Inside there, this round bench you can sit on, and the guy pours onto the grandfathers in there. It's like 120 Fahrenheit outside, and you're inside this lodge. You wouldn't believe how hot it is in there.
So
It's phenomenal. And after I come out of that lodge, you want to hear a crazy thing? I'm up in the jungle in a place called Ixtapa. I don't know there's alligators in the water. I decided to go for a swim, and it's dark. So I dive into this lake. I swim out into this lake, you know, crazy Viking out there in the water. All the Mexicans are looking at me like, this guy's loco.
that is crazy. That is
Loco, right?
Mexico.
I can hear all this stuff like swimming around. They're like taking off because predators or alligators or whatever, the size of your body can hit the water, the splash.
Mhm.
If you're bigger than them, they take off.
Okay.
That's the way nature works, right?
Yeah.
So I dove in the water.
I try and explain that to people with spiders.
Yeah, I'm 200 pounds.
My kids.
Those little alligators are not 200 pounds. You know what I mean? So when
Yeah.
I dove into that lake that night, all the alligators or whatever were in there, they all took off
Yeah.
because I was bigger than them. I was the bigger alligator in their minds. That's the only thing I could figure because I swam right out into that lake. I swam back, and then all the Mexicans were looking at me like, "You're crazy. That lake's full of alligators." I said, "Well, none of you people told me. How do I know? I'm from Canada, right?"
I hear Flynn in the background going, "Oh."
And they speak English because a lot of them go to University of Southern California. You'd be amazed how educated rich Mexicans are.
Oh, I believe it.
They got better
Especially along-
educations than we do.
Especially the ones attached to California down in that area.
Yeah.
Or Tijuana. and
They
everything,
all
right,
go to
San Diego
school
and
and
shit.
you
Speak
see
4
how
languages, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, like
very
there was
much
people
so.
at this thing. There was a doctor there at this particular sweat.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, the
So-
Sweat Lodge is several. We were talking about earlier,
You missed the
right?
Sweat Lodge.
When you have to have a pure heart. You know what I mean? Because when you go in that Sweat Lodge, if your heart's not pure, we've seen people walk out and puke from it, and like just
Oh, yeah.
because they're going in there in a wrong state. You know what I mean? Especially if you've done drugs recently or anything else. Because the elders will say, what is it, 4 days, no booze or alcohol, right? So I've taken guys that are coming down through addictions, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go to the Sweat Lodge. We'll dry you out first here, and then we'll go to the Sweat Lodge. But they have a very hard time with it because it's such a powerful, because it's the idea is that you crawling on your hands and knees, right? Because you're going into your mother's womb, the 13, and there's 13 ribs, just like the 13 of the mother. And,
Friday the
and
13th.
there's the 4 bars,
cameras are
right?
there,
The 4
it's
scales
pointing
up
TV.
for the 4 directions, right? Yeah, that's the 13 is that big thing. So you go into your knees, and then you're in that circle, and it's dark in there. And so it's kind of like, let's put a Star Wars reference into it. When Yoda is talking to Luke Skywalker, he says, "Look, what's in the cave? Whatever you bring in with you," right?
Yeah.
Sweat Lodge is very much like that. So if you're in a dark place and stuff, it will affect people in different ways. I've seen people puke up everything, but I've seen such healing in there too, right? Yeah. I've shed tears in there. I've had it like, sometimes it's so hot, I'll grab onto we call it the mother's ribs, and I'll hang on just like you're in the womb, because you're all in the womb together and you're going through that pain, you're going through that journey, right? And what's said in there is kept, and what's done in there is sacred. And then when we come out afterwards, right, like it's just that swimming feeling, like to go into the water. Just yesterday, was it yesterday or was it today? I don't know. I can't remember because I walk every day with the dog, but it was just, I was telling Stephanie about it. I was doing my little prayer and I got down. I do kind of like a Wim Hof breathing, and then I just hold my breath. I'm sitting there. I'm just like, I don't like kind of what I'll talk about. I'm like, I need a sign, right? And then I open my eyes and an eagle lands in the tree next to me with a rabbit and starts eating it and whistles at me. And I'm like, okay. And I actually started crying because I was like, wow, that was very powerful. Okay, that was very open. Signs, things we look at. But people don't, they go back to the logic. They don't trust their heart, right? My logic is like, Todd, it's just an eagle, Thadius, whatever, right? But no, my heart tells me, no, he's there. And talk about 16, man, because Paul grew up rough, right? And because of that, he made some poor choices, and he ended up in juvie for a couple of years out in northern BC. But you were telling me an experience, because they're giving you everything, but you had an experience. You went up on the hill and asked what again? Sorry, you're up on the
I asked
hill
for
there.
a sign. I was at a place called Monashi Mountains Wilderness Camp, and they had church every Sunday at 1:00. And there was a guy named Reverend Jack York that used to get up there and pound on the pulpit for 4 to 5 to 6 hour long sermons. And while we were in this camp, we had to read the Bible every day for 1 hour each morning.
Oh shit!
Oh yeah,
An hour of Bible study every day. So you had to learn the scripture. So I was kind of skeptical of, the Bible and Christianity and God and everything, because it wasn't in my life as a child. So I was on top of this mountain because I didn't want to go to church. So I hiked up this mountain. Right? I took off that morning and went to the top of Center Mountain, it's called. And I said, the only way I'm going to believe that you're real is if you show me a sign. That's the only way it's going to happen. And the sign was like a bright light, brighter than the sun, like a ball of light on top of this mountain. It chased me down the mountain. It scared me. I was 15. I was like, wow.
Fuck off.
I'm like, wow. You know what I mean? So Bill Wilson of Alcoholics Anonymous, by the way, he saw the same bright light. And then he wrote the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to help sober up all the people in the world. They were dying from alcoholism.
There, so it doesn't sit on the drum
You
lines.
know what I mean? A lot of people died from alcoholism. Prior to AA,
Yeah.
alcoholics died a horrible death, either in a jail, insane asylum, or locked up in a hospital. You had no recovery. There was no chance of getting sober.
Well, that's it though. Like,
So-
you think about it. When we're doing the census of my own family and roots and looking back, there was a guy in my family. It's funny because they just cut it. When he died, they actually wrote on a certificate, "Worthless drunk of no merit." Right?
Wow.
And they were harsh.
But
back
all
in the 18
alcoholics, before they
that's
get
how they were.
sober,
But what I heard is that he had broke his leg when I looked into the history. And what they had was whiskey. They didn't have painkillers, right? They didn't have antiseptics and stuff that day. So you drank whiskey to get through the pain, right? But it just it burnt them, pickled them from the inside out.
yeah.
We're just sharing the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not on my phone.
No,
everybody.
no,
I'm actually doing real work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fucking
So
Good man.
this is
sharing our shit. This is my buddy Justin.
I'm
Justin,
Justin, how you doing?
wicked musician. Spent a lot
You
of
gonna play
time.
some music tonight?
Tomorrow. We got
Tomorrow? Okay.
Hey,
yeah.
some band's coming in to do a little bit of a jam. I rent my studio
Wow,
out
that's
to people.
nice.
Yeah, are
who
you-
want to jam
Good
too
for
as
you,
well.
man.
I was
Awesome.
just
You can
strumming
sit on
a
the
bit.
couch too if you want.
What?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
sit
we
on
got
the couch
room.
too if you want.
Oh,
You don't want to be on camera. You don't have to be on camera.
Yeah,
We are live,
yeah.
We're live. We're rocking.
so
I might be too awkward for that.
well, if you're gonna be too awkward, that's why Flynn hangs out in the background too. He just hangs out
He's a
back
background
there.
guy.
Yeah.
I I know you play guitar now, but that's typical bass player fucking mentality.
Is it?
Still there.
He's a fucking amazing bass player. Both
Is
of
he?
those guys
Right
right
on.
there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Amazing.
That's how you
voice
keep
players.
it rhythm, right?
Actually, we probably need some background music or something.
Yeah, man. I was like, why you guys aren't playing?
Do you even have your bass here? What
I'm
happened
gonna
to
use this one for now.
Okay.
Use this one for now. He's good.
So what about you, Brian? What's going on, man? I haven't seen
Yeah.
you much. I had my car broken for 2 weeks. Drive shaft went. I was never so
man.
happy to get a bill for $1,200. I thought it was gonna be $5,000, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
was like,
especially
oh, drive shaft, $1,200 plus labor, whatever. I was like, oh, thank you, right? Like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah. So that was kind of nice. But yourself. So I've been walking everywhere. I ran into you in the park, and with your dog and that. Like, how's it been with you, man? What's been going on?
It's been ups and downs. A lot of stuff. I don't because it's all family sensitive and shit. Like I don't know how much I can say on camera, but
Yeah.
but it's been going good. I can say in the most respectful way possible. I guess I could say that I'm finally free.
Good.
I no longer feel the burdens being weighed down by my ex.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, Flynn, you might as well just plug it into the bass amp. Not have it go through the board like that when we're not set up like that and we're live.
Yeah.
If it's too much, we don't need to worry about it too much.
Do you actually whack this with a pumpkin or
Watermelon?
Watermelon.
you ever shoot a watermelon with a pistol grip 12 gauge?
I have with a lot of things. Desert Eagle.
You're making me want to.
No, it's
Oh,
really
that's
awesome.
fun.
Desert Eagle pistol, man.
But
Watermelon.
that, if you want to know what this will do to the human head,
Oh, I imagine what it
you just get a watermelon and it's just pink mist.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
fucking great. It's actually really cathartic.
Yeah.
It's one of the meditative practices that I like to use every once in a while.
Take a little aggression out.
I'll
Yeah,
go
see
grab
it
a
just
watermelon.
for a sec, though, right? Because I try to say it.
It's heavy.
I'll go grab a watermelon, and even Hannah, my stepdaughter who was in here earlier, she
You whack watermelon.
she uses it, and she uses it to show the boys that she's not to be fucked with when she brings
All
them
right.
down here.
Good for her.
Both my girls know that.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is whip it around, eh? But yeah, think about it, because really, there's Buddy showing up, and he's full of his armor now, right? And you can't cut him with your sword anymore, so you just take this thing out and bludgeon him down. And it's just, I can imagine the ear ringing, in the helmet. You get hit, that alone, I'd be like, oh, okay, I give up. But this is pretty intimidating, right?
Mhm.
Like,
I walked into a metal show because I used to throw metal shows.
Mhm.
I walked into the parking lot with all the kids in the parking lot watching me walk down the fucking parking lot, dragging it on the concrete, going clink, 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 clink. And they're like, "What the fuck is going on?
That's awesome.
What the fuck is that guy doing?" And I just click, click, click all the way into the fucking building.
Yeah.
But when I say that I'm free, I mean that I'm free mentally from the prison that I had myself locked in, from thinking life wasn't going to be good because it wasn't turning out the way I thought it was going to be.
yes.
Because for a long time, I knew that things were over, and I wasn't in denial, but I still had to sit in that emotional pain. And that emotional, much like what I imagine you went through when you finally realized that you were at the end of what it was.
We live life through stories, right? And you got to
Yeah.
rumble with your story.
So I got there and I sat in my emotions, and then I just been picking myself up. And honestly, the biggest thing that happened to me is I got an opportunity to further my knowledge to be able to do this job better.
Yeah, well, this is
Like I don't want to call it a job, but it's.
we're on the cutting edge here, like we're
Yeah.
hanging out, right? We're
Well,
I'm
you
thinking
start
about
out
bringing
somewhere.
this over to Rumble too,
Yeah,
getting
right.
off of YouTube and going over to
Just
Rumble.
keep growing, right? And that's
Because,
important.
A lot of people are going over to Rumble now, and the infrastructure over there is
Yeah,
building.
I'm follow on Rumble now because I'm going off YouTube censorship and stuff like that. So I just keep basic. But what I like YouTube for is because then I can see where the normies are at.
Yeah,
I'll read that. I'm like, okay, they're only there so far in the game. They don't really know what's going on.
you like to watch what they're allowing us to see.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we
Before you
at?
go back
All right.
over to what's really happening.
All right, so they're at least talking about the food shortages in 6 months now, and Paul started growing some vegetables. Good job on you, and stuff like that. Yeah, like it's important to start getting into that because there's I'm growing enough for everybody, all my friends, anyways. I've been really going all out. my goal this year was to have enough. So anybody that needs food, I could learn a lot of that because a lot of the skills are going to have to come back, right?
Yeah.
We see gas prices, everything else. So what's coming next? People want to know what's coming next, right? So we got China still. Yeah, we got food shortages, right? China owns 60 or 50 to 60% of the food storage of the world right now. Got a lot of things going on there. You're going to see them make a move on Taiwan soon enough
I was
too.
wondering when that's going to happen.
But it will happen in the next. It might not happen to 2023, but it will happen, right? Because Russia's got to finish their operations. Finland and Norway were trying to join NATO, but Turkey just hours ago said no, I won't allow that, right? Turkey, people aren't talking about. They've invaded Iraq, right? They're clearing out a whole bunch of things there. There's a whole bunch they're not letting you in on. That doesn't matter, right?
What do you mean by Finland and Norway? What's going on in Finland and Norway?
They want to join NATO, but Russia says no. If you do that, we're going to nuke you.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
but nobody's
Okay.
listening in Russia,
We'll just
right?
nuke you.
Actually, the ruble's
Crazy.
gone up. It's the highest it's ever been.
Wow.
Yeah.
Russia's made $62 billion in profits.
Well, they're all gold back. now, aren't they?
They're all gold back. Everybody's buying their oil and stuff, and the sanctions are just hurting us by design in the WEF because in 10 more days, Trudeau hangs over sovereignty of our health system to the WHO, the World Health Organization. Same with the States. Joe Biden, May 22nd,
Wow.
it's 195 countries sign on to the WHO takes over all the health concerns. So the WHO, it will no longer be Dr. Tan and Trudeau dictating. It will all come from the WHO. Biden signing on that too. So on the 16th, we got Roe versus Wade. So that's going to start riots because we know how that's going to work out. We got 2,000 mules now. They can't deny it.
Are we going to get into that today?
No, I won't get into that because of this, but they can't deny things. That's going to cause some issues of what's coming out, right?
We don't want to be censored.
Censored, yeah. So we won't. That's going to cause. I'm just talking about more of the political strife that's coming up, right? All these issues are coming out right now, and so and then you see them spraying the air lately, right? Lately, they've been spraying a lot more with silver oxide. The idea is because the silver oxide comes down, you breathe it in, and it makes you feel very good. So if you walk around, all of a sudden you're feeling like I'm really good this today. But then for 2 days, you feel really depressed, right? They often do this right before, because they know next week's going to cause riots. They're going to spray us, get us really feeling good all weekend with the sunshine. And then when it comes in next week, when the riots start, we'll all have this emotional crash and it will destroy the Schumer resonance, right? So it's all kind of dictated. Now, this is where I get why I keep YouTube, right? Too, because it's like, how much can I talk about what's coming yet? Doesn't really
see
matter.
something on Fox. Interesting. Keep going. But
Yeah.
Fox is starting to talk about white hat operations now and actually using those terminologies.
Well, there is a lot going on behind the scenes, right? But this is not about the whole point is this is a psychological war, World War III. And it is what we call fourth and fifth generational warfare. It's happening on YouTube. It's happening in whatever it is. But the main war that we're having right now is in your hearts, right? And that's what everybody has to come to is that I tell myself every day, I looked at the sun, it came up. I know I didn't do that. I don't think you guys did that. So I know the universe is working, right? Every day it's working. Right here, when you turn the lights on in any area, you're going to see a lot of bad things that you didn't know were there or whatever, like little scurries away. And that's what we're seeing as this age, because the Sat Yuga, which is when you look at the different ages, we come into the age of truth again. Because 5-dimensional ascension, everybody thinks they're going to just float up. That's not what we're talking about, right? We're not. It's about standing in truth, right? You ascend when you stand in truth, right? That's why we didn't get the jab. We choose not to, right? Because we saw the truth, and now we're seeing that BC let out today. I shared it on Twitter there. What was it? Triple jab are the 76% of all deaths are now triple jabbed. So it's like, yeah, so they can't hide these stats anymore and stuff. But why did we have that? Because we walk, going back to the sweat lodge, full circle here, because we walk with our creator, and our creator will talk to you, right? Because we trust our intuition, because our logic is based on what we call living in sin, which means living in your senses, right? Your sense body is at battle with your righteous spirit, right? Because it's two different. Your spirit knows you're everything, knows you're connected with everything, knows the creator and everything else, and your body's like, no, I'm me, right? And you're fighting this, I want food and this and that, but
Give me.
when you do the sweat lodge, right, it slows you down. You take 4 rounds and it slows you down to remember that you're not so big on yourself. right? You humble yourself. It's constantly about humbling ourselves. That's
all
very
right.
important.
I love
Humble
myself.
pie, right, really teaches you more in the hard knock schools of life than anything else. And it's, I used to think I was like, I see it with my kids, right? So it's funny now. I think, I'm like, man, if I was only 16 again, because when I was that age, man, I was really smart. Just ask me, right? I knew everything when I was 16. And the older I get, it's the less I know. But the more I'm amazed at how fantastic this universe is, right? Because for me, in my faith and how I find things, right? I just connect to that energy of everything is. I could sit there in my backyard now and just the noise of everything is just, I know I'm connected to it all and all this. And this is what the real battle is right now, is that they're trying to divide us. They're trying to make us hate one another, right? You know, as I said, the racism card wasn't working as well anymore, right? So now there's different things. I mean, we're talking about
Now it's abortion.
abortion, right? And people want to know, I'm very pro-life, but I'm going to tell you something. This is how I think about this. I would not let the government regulate abortion. I would not let the government regulate vaccine mandates. I would not let the government regulate the death penalty, because the government's a bunch of idiots, right?
Yeah.
So you know what? I don't want my taxpayers dollars paying for abortion. But if there's a private clinic, that's between that person and their creator.
Yep.
I'm not here to judge.
They're the
anybody.
ones that have.
I don't
they're the ones
judge
that have to
anybody.
live
But I don't
with
want the
moral
government
dilemma.
having power at any medical decision. The conservatives don't see that they're setting themselves up. They're like, all right, now the government can regulate your body. Well, guess what? They could regulate shots then too. How about the government doesn't regulate anything? And how about they don't regulate the death penalty either? Because, you know, right now we say, oh, this is great for death penalty, but in 20 years from now, they're going to kill me for not using the proper pronoun maybe, right? So no. So let's not give the government any of these powers, right? Actually, let's downsize the government. I'm very libertarian, right? I tell people I stand up for the gay married men to protect their marijuana plants with their guns, right? That's how I believe, right? So
Yeah.
that's it, right? Like I'm libertarian in that sense. People, you will face your own when you die. That's your own choices, right? So the choices you make in life is up to you. All I could do is say make better choices. We were talking about this earlier about redemption. This is a Luciferian idea that you have to be redeemed, right? Doesn't work, right? This is they're trying to. The church always made you feel guilty. You got to redeem. You got to redeem. No, the story of Thadius, the prodigal son, he returns, right, and he repents. Repentance, true repentance, means having a change of heart, which leads to a change of behavior. And when you have this, that's it. You're forgiven. All is done. Change of heart, change of behavior, move forward. You don't have to redeem yourself. It's done. Just change of heart, change of behavior, right? You know, the Lord bought you back as a bond servant. You move forward at that point, right? And just get into that energy. So, and that's the creator to how you are, right? I like to speak on this. Like for me, Yeshua HaMashiach is very big. Even in my guru, like people don't understand that, because if I go back 5,500 years ago, when the reptilians invaded Earth and took over, right? Krishna was born during this time. He was kind of like trying to take care of everything. And that's why he said, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama, Rama, Hare, Hare. Because he's here, he's the throat chakra. He said, you're going into the dark ages, the Kali Yuga, you cannot get to God. So if you go back 14,000 years, there's called the Ganesha Stotram, and there was Markinda. He's one of the gurus that lived at that time. He talked about Yeshua coming, right? Yeshua was born of Mother Lakshmi, the Ave Maria, the Sophie, so just of the divine feminine. It's all in ancient scriptures, never been translated. That's why I study Sanskrit, so I can actually read and learn this, right? And understand. So this was all preordained. See, Yeshua came here because God sits on your head. And Krishna was here, right? And you cannot reach over here and you get judged. All that stuff. But Yeshua decided to come. And what he was able to do at the mystery of Golgotha was create an auric egg. That's why he's represented with the Christian egg, where Mary Magdalene holds the egg, right? Is he created the egg here in the space as a guru to move through, right? Through what he did. And how that happened isn't exactly how they're telling you. And I don't want to get into that faith, but I want to say that he existed. And everything that's coming back. There's going to be a lot of fake people coming back saying that they're Christ, right? Don't believe them. They're not, because you'll know when he shows up. I mean, just put it that way. But if he shows up, nobody knows when that happens, right?
Yeah.
And all that. So these people that are coming, you see it this year because they're like, they're getting us ready with Project Bluebeam and everything else to maybe accept their new world order Christ, whoever that's going to be. right? And they're trying to, the Pope's getting all these religions together, and you say, well, we don't even actually need Jesus, or Jesus is fake news, that Harari guy, all that kind of stuff. They're really settling this up, right? And it's not, I'm believe on homeschool and home church, right? Because I don't, as you said, I don't go to church because churches all want you to get vaccinated. They've been sold out to the New World Order since the 13th century, pretty much, right? I mean, Martin Luther tried to do something, but then that fell apart too, right? Like it really does, because even when the Jesuits infiltrated the Freemasons in the 1850s, right? King George at the time tried to warn everybody. Nobody listened. But they all came through. It's all been under that Vatican City of Bank and that, which brings me to the petrodollar, right?
Yeah.
Destroyed 25th of March, 2022. Inflation doubled in Germany the next day. Putin switched to that gold-backed currency, right? So it's all switched around. And it's, they're not telling you anything that's really going on there. Why are we helping this country out? Why are they invested into it and everything else? Well, there's also ancient pyramids there.
And we're in Russia?
In Ukraine.
Oh, in Ukraine.
Yeah, there's some of the oldest pyramids. Yeah, some of the old pyramids there. So the Azov battalions, which worship the black sun, right? So the black sun is the circle of the zodiac that moves around the kind of earth sphere that we're in. So without going into too much detail, these are what the ancient Nazis' teachings are, right? And the Sophia Christo is the white sun. So the central universe has a center with a giant sun, as what we're taught in yoga. And this sun has the holy triune fire, right? So this holy triune fire is like a consciousness that permits through the universe, right? And flows through all the suns. In opposition to this is a different kind of codex, which is from the Abaddon, right? It's a black hole that had ripped open into it, and these dark energies had come through this, and this is what's in spiral, right? So this galactic codex actually permits the whole universe through a different kind of DNA energy that flows through of what we call the Christ consciousness, right? So when Yeshua came and everything else, he came to establish this, to give us a chance to then reach God, right?
Yeah.
Our creator. And when I mean God, I mean the creator God too, right? Because there's levels, even in Isaiah that talk many gods, the Elohim. And people don't understand this. The Elohim are a spiritual race of like ninth dimensional beings, and they're called Anahuzi. Anahuzi Elohim are feline Elohim. So in the Bible, it'll tell you our ancestors are the lions and stuff. So you could go in Hindi, Narasima, and everything else.
I've heard of this.
Yes. So these are the highest levels of Elohim, right? Because Yahweh was Elohim and stuff like this. But these guys, they Yahweh, Baal, all this kind of stuff. But they're here, right? They're principalities.
Yeah.
They control, like Jupiter controls us. Things, the moon affects us. These are all principalities, right? That's the power of what the Sophia Christos is of Yeshua, the divine feminine from the central sun. And this holy fire is it stands above all principalities, right? Think of how powerful this dude was. Like when you think about it, think about 600 JTF operators or airborne paratroopers, right? That's what they sent to get him that night in the garden, right? For when they were going to crucify him. They sent 600 dudes at him like that, and they like, boom! Can you imagine 600 Spec Ops guys coming to arrest you now? You know, and they said, "Where is Yeshua?" And he said, "I am He." And they all 600 went like that, right? So, and that's just because he stood in his power, he stood in his truth, and he wants us to stand in the power, stand in the truth. That was the Cathari teachings, right? This was the Mary Magdalene in southern France, but the Catholic Church has destroyed that and hunted down that all the true teachings of the Sophia Christos and what Yeshua really stood for to hand it down. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm seeing a change. I'm seeing a change because the central sun is changing the light as we move into the new Yuga, right? Because basically, so on the Christian cross, that's what it talks about. It's not, as we've talked about, it wasn't this type of cross that Yeshua was crucified on. But this shows you the 4 ages that as we move, time is not linear, right? It's cyclical. So we talked about the grandfathers, the stones that we bring into the sweat lodge. Why are they grandfathers? Because the first age was the void. There was nothing there. Then became the age of sound. Sound turned into energy. Sound, that energy became minerals, became our grandfathers, became fire and the elements, which became plants. Those plants became the reptiles and the dinosaurs, then became the mammals and everything else. And now as the time cycle goes back, we come into the age of humans. And as we come into that, we step into our intuitive powers where we learn not to take ourselves so seriously and go into our hearts, right?
Mhm.
And that's it. And that's why when I met Paul, I was so interested in him, because here's a man that just follows his heart and has done that from 35 years. And some of the stories that he would tell me that has gone through. I mean, we've both lost our sons, right, in different ways. And it's also given us connection because in a way, he's kind of like a father-like figure to me, and I get the son figure back and forth, and we've been able to share in that. But yeah, no, we're looking forward to Sweat Lodge Sunday. Eh? What's I like that Sweat Lodge. So we're doing that up in Woodstock, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
With Chad.
Yeah, Chad's a great elder too. He's
Yeah.
all the well, because I'm so mad at Trudeau.
He's an MMA fighter too, so that's even more awesome.
Well, I don't recognize Trudeau's government anymore, really, right?
Yeah.
I respect the Woolstock Nation, right? I consider I'm on the Woolstock Nation property, right? So you got a problem with me, go talk to the elders, right? They take me in as their own. They think I'm a little weird guru, right? Because I'm good with that.
That's the
right?
ancient transcript.
Sanskrit,
Sanskrit prayer in the lodge.
Well, because
kind of blows them away a little bit.
Well,
I've seen him walking down the trail all tranced out.
Yeah, because I get into that state, right? Well, the first, even in the Christian Bible, at first there was the Word, and God was with the Word, right?
Yeah.
When I'm singing, I'm walking through the forest, I see the Lord kind of as a lion walking with me, just roaring. Yeah. Because it's almost like the Hindi name for God, the first God was Rudra, the roar, the lion, right? And it's just like, I've been working on some different, really, because I like the Christian mantras that we have, because on Easter, me and Paul, Good Friday, we got up at like 5 a.m, went down to the ocean and ran in the ocean. And you know, what was I chanting, right? As I was running, Hallelujah, right? So it's all those sounds, right, that happen. One of my favorite mantras that I've been using just lately is to connect to the Holy Spirit, right? In the feminine sense. And a lot of people don't use this. They got the masculine side down because of the patriarchy. But the Holy Spirit is the feminist, the divine feminist, the yin of the universe. And so we coax her out, and it's just, Om Sophia Christo, Sophia Maria Shekinah Shalom. So these kind of mantras help connect, right? So Sophia Christo is that central sun in the galactic codex and the divine feminine, right? Because the father's the void, was emptiness, and then the spark is the mother. So that central sun is divine feminine energy, right? And that central sun is the above all principalities of what this current part of the multiverse that we live in. So Yeshua came from that central sun. And so did many of the teachers that Markindia and all these teachers that come from, that's where they come from to try to raise us up, right? That was Krishna was the last shot. Yeah. But Yeshua came down, right? It's all, but you know, there's so much lessons that we could learn from all that history. One of my favorite people that I follow, the Ascended Masters, like to say I work with, is who I call Sri Samba, which was Krishna's son, who was a real drunkard and a troublemaker, right? But like when I do my deeper meditations, he's some person that's actually been giving me a lot of guidance, because he caused a big problem with what we call a curse from a rishi, because he caused some problems and it caused the destruction of Krishna's tribe. So it's not that he's redeeming himself, but he's been helping me, right? Because I said there's no redemption now, there's repentance, right? But he's been guiding me, because I was a bit misfortunate too when I was younger. I was pretty wild, right? And it was when I said the Lord knocked me down. I left the army with just mental health issues. I was pretty proud of that. My body was working fine. I was out working, and then the Lord knocked me in a hole. I felt like I was pushed, and I sat there for 3 days, just like Saul, and I became Paul. I woke up, and then everything changed, right? And then all of a sudden, I started learning, like, hold on, this is what they meant, right? You got to drop all your attachments, pick up the cross, and walk that way. And that's what I started doing by living a more holy life, right? And you can see it now too in living a holy life, how much we get attacked, because the other side can't understand it, right? And a holy life is just walking with the Creator, whatever that looks like, whether you're going to Sweat Lodge, whether you're doing stuff, right? My ways for me, and I try to tell people, it's interesting because it's grace. It's that power that flows through us.
It's grace. We're given a daily reprieve.
Yeah,
grace alone.
I can't find
it's
my
not by works,
right? most days. So it's through the prayers and through the song, right? I sing it, and the angels fight for me, man. I don't have to do it, right? Like that's how that works. So it's a spiritual. What's happening in the spiritual world will manifest in this world all the time, and what we do in this world manifests the other way, as above, so below.
Mhm.
We're very connected to that, right? That's in the sweat lodge. When we light the fire, we know that our ancestors are lighting the fire on the other side. And they're all gatherings because you're getting ready. They're excited. Your grandmothers, your great grandparents and stuff. It was really, I had an image one time in the sweat lodge where I seen, where this shillelagh comes from. But my grandfather, and he was just gray hair and his cap, and Irish sitting on an old Irish fence with his sweater looking on. And I was just like, wow, it just hit me so vivid. And I'd only seen a picture, but I'd seen that, right? And this is just that connection. Because he was on the other fire, and he looked at me, and I felt like he said, "Good job, man." Right? Because as I said, I come from a long line of drunks and gypsy fighters and Irish gypsy pikeys, right? Ojibwe too, right? I lived on the res a bit because my dad was such a drunk. Yeah, we ran off. He beat my mom until Paul. But we escaped when I was 5 years old, and we stayed up in Marathon up there. And I remember living in a school bus, with no running water or anything else. That's why I'm so mad at seeing all this money going wasted to Ukraine, because I got family that still doesn't fucking have running water, man. And yet we're gonna send hundreds of millions that way.
Yeah,
as long as reserves.
Yeah, it's weird, right? But it is.
The government's got some twisted ideas. Let's put it to you that way. That's all I can say, right?
But
I got nothing right now, guys.
yeah,
Nothing.
I got nothing. Fuck.
yeah.
I'm all dumbfounded right now. So fucking.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the thing is, it's like the spark.
Ah!
See that wood stove over there? When you first light it, there's a little spark, right?
Yeah.
And your spiritual soul within inside your heart could be just flickering right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then if you have it in your mindset, because that journey from the head to the heart is the longest journey you're ever going to take.
Oh yeah.
Right? If you get
Yeah.
that connected, that spark roars up. And you believe wholeheartedly within yourself, within the world that Todd's talking about. You just know there is a God and you're not it.
Yeah.
Because when you're drinking, you're playing God. I played God when I drank.
Oh yeah. Well, that's it.
You know what I mean?
How
That's
many
how I
scraps? Like both of us,
Like,
like
I
fighting.
believe the
scrapping,
amount of
right?
people I put into the humbled with my skill set of being able to fight really good. Gifted fighter, a natural. Thrown into the ring with when I first did kickboxing, I was fighting two guys outside of a kickboxing club, and Mike Miles, my sensei, walked across the street, shook my hand, said, "Where'd you learn to fight like that, kid?" And I was 17 years old, living on the streets of Calgary. Because our parents were up in Fort McMurray, and I hitchhiked down to Calgary. And I said, "Well, doesn't everybody fight like that?" He said, "No." He says, "I'm the middleweight champ of the world right now, and I don't even know if I could beat up those two rounders I just watched you beat up. And you're only a kid. Those are like 30 and 40-year-old men. They were like two of the toughest guys in downtown Calgary. And I beat them up. And he said to me, he said, "If you can fight like that in the ring, we'll pay you." So I go back on Monday. They throw me in the ring. I don't know the guy I'm in the ring with is the reigning champion in my weight class. I knock him out in the first round. Because I have these fucking hands, this power from which I found out wasn't a fluke, because I broke my neck one time with a motor vehicle accident in BC.
Holy shit.
Right? I put my head through the window of the back of my pickup truck. So I have a broken neck. I work on the pipeline for 9 months, building the Southern Line crossing, cursing everybody in pain, but I'm still working. Because I'm an operating engineer, right? And I got to make my money, right? And I gotta pay the government the taxes, you know what I'm saying?
Pay the government
And,
taxes.
So they sent me for an MRI. So I drive down from the Okanagan Valley down to Vancouver for this MRI. The people are very rude to me. They think I'm trying to work ICBC for some insurance scam.
Yeah.
Because I don't look like there's anything wrong with me.
Yeah.
So I take my boots off. I go in. I do the MRI. I go back out. I'm putting my boots back on. They go, oh, you got to come back in. I said, what do you mean? And I know there's no mistakes when an MRI is done. You know what I mean? You're in there and they're seeing the real deal.
They're x-raying your shit and they're
Yeah.
watching shit.
So they said, no, you got to come back in. We got to do it again. We made a mistake. So I go back in.
Yeah.
They do the second MRI on me. They're asking me, how did you get here? I said, what do you mean? I drove down here. You need help with your boots? You know, they're being right nice to me all of a sudden. They said, do you realize, but we're not supposed to tell you, but you have a broken neck. We don't even know how you're physically walking. I was so jacked in those days. Because I'm 60 now, I lost a lot of weight. I used to be 235 ripped.
Oh, shit.
5'7".
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it's 235 pounds of solid muscle.
So
Like
basically
5'7".
your muscles fucking holding your neck.
Yeah,
muscle,
that's
how
right.
my neck,
Your
right?
fucking traps are holding your
So
neck.
I ended up going back to the Okanagan Valley. I get home, the phone rings. I'm rushed to Kelowna for emergency surgery.
Yeah.
I got a guy named Van Pettigan. He's the back surgeon's back surgeon. He's like one of the best surgeons in the world. He takes a piece of bone out of my hip, makes me a vertebrae and cuts through the front. See that big scar there? He cuts through the front, not from the back, and puts in a new vertebrae in my neck. Takes the broken one out that's completely broken in half, apparently. It was split right in two. They don't even know how I was walking because of the muscles. That's what they said, because I was so physically built.
He's always been this ticket.
Yeah.
You know what? The one story I want to make sure before we get anything
Yeah.
else in is that how did you get to your first sweat lodge? Who came up to you?
Oh, I had a guy named Emmett Peters.
Yeah,
Come
tell
up to
that
be in an
story.
AA meeting, right? And at AA meetings, they stand in a circle after the meeting. And they all sort of like hold hands and say the Serenity Prayer or one of the prayers. So I'm standing back like this, 23 years sober. I'm thinking I don't need to stand in that circle with the rest of those fools because, you know, typical alcoholic that I am, superior, you know.
I can do this.
Yeah, I don't need these people.
Fuck you guys.
So this guy walks up to me. He says, you know, there's only one race, the human race,
Uh-oh, I'm just looking at my
right?
cards. Don't
He
worry
says
about
to
me.
me, when are you going to join it? And I said, well, what do you mean? Like, when am I going to join it? He says, you know, it's time for you to lay down your sword, he says to me. He says, I know you're ex-military. There's a sweat lodge tonight at McDonald Beach in Shearwater on the base
Yeah.
at McDonald Lake. He says, you know, I think you should come to that sweat lodge tonight. He basically challenged me to come. And I thought, yeah, I've never been to a sweat lodge in my entire life, so why not go there? And I was kind of angry over what happened to me in British Columbia. I had some situation out there, and I was sort of like walking around the sober Paul, acting like the drunk Paul. You know, if you know what I
Okay,
mean.
yeah.
Like,
You were associating yourself with who you used to be?
yeah, as a sober man at 23 years sober,
Because
because I
you
was
couldn't let go
angry
of who you
over
were.
what happened to me in BC.
Okay.
And this guy seen it in me and asked me to come to the lodge. And it's amazing because I went to that first sweat lodge that night and I didn't know anything about you're allowed to lay down if it gets too hot or you're supposed to bring a towel.
Yep.
Okay, I sat there for 4 rounds and this guy has really hot sweats and I didn't blink. I didn't lay down. I had skin peel off me. I burned. And he looked at me afterwards, and this is the first guy to call me a Viking. He said, you got to be an ancient Viking warrior from the past in order to sit there like that for 4 rounds and go through that much pain. And you didn't even blink. You didn't say a word. I said, well, I didn't know I was allowed to lay down. I didn't know I was supposed to bring a towel because nobody told me.
Yeah.
My first time ever here. How do I know? You know what I mean? It was like when they threw me in the ring with that guy kickboxing. They thought he was going to do whatever he was going to do with me. I knocked him out in the first round with 1 punch. Simple. You know what I mean? I parried what he was doing. Bang, give him a shot. Down he went.
Well, it's talking. They're starting to run the sweat
You
lodge
know.
on the base up here now, eh?
Are they? Yeah, I'll go to it.
out and stuff. Yeah, you should. I saw the guys that are going to run it. I said I won't go on base.
You know Oz?
I'm not waiting till. I'm waiting till there's a change of leadership.
Is Oz
in the
going to
country.
go?
Yeah.
So is Oz going to be running?
Oz is
Steve?
running. Oz is actually going to become the first Canadian Forces Elder Padre who's First Nations. So
Yeah, in the
we
history of the forces.
recognize the ceremonies. Well, he's also
He's a good friend of mine. Too.
Yeah, he's also a son.
He's a sun dancer.
Yeah, he's a sun dancer. He did that too and stuff, and that's pretty hardcore, man.
It's
sun
water.
dancing is there.
They dance for 4 days without food and water,
Yeah,
and they do sweats for 4 days while they dance.
twice a
Oh,
day.
geez.
And they suffer for the people, right? And they put it.
And then
through,
they
so
pierce
it's kinda
themselves
like-
and they drag a tree
Oh, really?
for
yeah.
kilometers. Yeah,
Oh
these
yeah.
guys are tough.
It's just, but it's again, it's
Yeah, really.
Some strong chi there.
Oh yeah.
it is. It's just a different.
This is after 4 days of not eating and drinking
Well,
water.
if you ever see
They're
them
dancing in the hot sun.
hanging from the tree, right? They can hang this, or they can pull the tree
Yeah.
from this, and they hook
Yeah.
on and everything else, right?
Yeah.
This comes back from the original
Familiar.
teachings, all that purification, right? And if we look at it, everybody's had that in their cultures, right? You know, because where we all come from, but the Vikings had their way, the Irish had their way, you know, it went through. But this is a very powerful, because you can see very similar ceremony actually in Sri Lanka.
Mhm.
When I was there, a lot of these with the dragon and the pulling and the cuts and everything else. So, and Glosskop, right? Like when he came 75,000 years ago to really set up when the first humans were really in here, he taught all these ways, right? He taught, because I was talking about ages the other day, and a lot of people don't understand this, right? And I want to explain how ages work. So we got to look at principalities. What do we mean by principality? A principality is something that controls the direct influence on Earth. So let's talk about, right now we're under the influence of the Mercury retrograde. That's a principality.
Fuck you, Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, that's
Fuck you.
yeah, that's what's affecting us, right? But let's look at, we have,
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
well, then we have the sun, right? So we have the sun, and then we have the sun's teacher, which is Jupiter, right? So Jupiter travels around the sun every 12 years, and that's called one solar cycle, right? So we go through. So when the Jupiter travels around the sun 2160 times, that's called 25,920 years.
Yeah.
That's one precession of the equinoxes, or one cosmic year. Then you multiply that by 2160. That gives you 55 million and some change, and that's one cosmic age, right? So as we move out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, right? As it moves backwards through time. So as this change happens, there's what we call the Treta Yuga, which is like the travel period between the two yugas, right? So the yuga, the truth yuga in the ancient teachings in Sanskrit says, picture it as a bull standing on 4 legs. Everything works. And then you go to the next age, it's a bull on 3 legs. And the next age, bull on 2 legs. And the next age, which we're just coming out of, is a bull on 1 leg. So the last few thousand years have been so dark on purpose, right? So again, why Hare Krishna had said the only thing you could do is say my name and hope for the best. Why Yeshua decided to come to create that aura egg. So right now, the Sophia Christo light of everything's moving through as the teachings all come through. This is the energy of the change of the planet, right? This is the energy that you're going to see a lot coming out with. You're going to see a lot of this actually talked about as Space Force comes to life and all this. Because remember, Ascension Day.
Yeah, we're in Space Force territory now, aren't we?
Yeah, well, Ascension Day this year is on the 26th of May, right? I find it very interesting that on the 16th, there's going to be a lot of major court decisions coming. And then 10 days later is Ascension Day.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of energy. And we have the blood moon. Everything's kind of like, you got to watch the Bible had said this when we look in the scriptures, what our ancestors left us. The skies are for signs and portents, right? So watch your energy at this time. Watch what's coming through, right? All this is happening because we started eclipse season. This is the first super moon, these eclipses. So all these are principalities. All these principalities affect all our life here on earth, right? That's why we pray up to the Godhead, whether it's as the Krishna consciousness that came here as the Christ consciousness, to rise above the principalities. And that's that divine spark in yoga that we talk about, that original sound, the Nada Brahma, which is in your heart, which you spoke about, right? That little spark, that little timber, right? That's always been you. That's never touched any of this, right? That never needs to be redeemed. That never needs that's, you get too much into this, right? This is the part that we need to reconnect with.
Reminds me, I need you to correct me on a mudra.
Yeah.
Because I learned a new mudra today. And I think, no, it's like this. I think it's like this.
All right, so make a triangle, yeah.
Is that the correct mudra?
Yeah, that is that. I know which
And my
way-
other fingers are in the right spot too?
Yes, you're doing that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my hands are too broken to do that.
Yeah, well, so,
Or is it, or is
So,
it
Paul,
the double,
what I've
or
told-
is it the double metal?
wait,
Is it, no. 'cause
well, it depends. So each mudra has a different power, right, that you could use. So one I was using the other day was just with thumbs crossed and fingers pointed up like this. So in our hands, we have apps. We have more apps than you have in your cell phone, right? We think this has lots of apps. Well, this is the most scientific creation on this planet. This has way more apps. So mudras and everything else, we connect to the sound, connect to this. We're going to learn a whole bunch of new science. We're going to learn the science of sound again. We're going to learn, because the earth is created through the elements, right? You need a carbon cycle. Carbon's not bad. You need a carbon cycle. You need a water cycle. And it's all cycles. So these cycles all work together, right? We are carbon, right? Carbon's good.
Carbon-based life
They
form.
taught you that
Like-
it's right. Exactly. So you need a carbon cycle.
And they
on the planet.
forget
you need a water
They
cycle.
forget the trees.
You need
eat
an
the
air
carbon
cycle,
dioxide.
right? You need a fire cycle. It needs heat, right? People are going to discover, the under part of the world too. There's giant rivers that run underground right through all these giant, right? Like all this kind of stuff that hasn't been explored and not. As we come into this age of truth, this is really what it's about. We'll start learning new sciences. By gardening, we'll cut down our rates of cancer. Going back to gardens, how we change to eat, learning the sounds, learning to understand that we're connected to everything, right? Getting so much out of, I'm not my mind, I'm not my body, I'm more my spiritual self, right? Because my body and my mind fight against the righteousness of my spiritual true nature, which really just knows it wants to help, right?
Yeah.
But don't judge yourself for that. That's part of the living here, right? The best thing about the Kali Yuga, actually, that I found in scripture was that you don't get judged for your thoughts, because we're in the age of darkness. Only your actions. So that I was like, oh, that's good then. Woo! Well, translating those things, I was like, okay.
Well, that's good to know, because there's some weird fucking thoughts that run through.
Well,
your
we
head
all have
sometimes.
thoughts.
Everybody has crazy thoughts.
Yeah, and I
It's
was
whether
like,
you act on them or not.
no,
It's like,
but as we move into the age of truth, though, is what I was showing in my meditation and what I've read in the ancient scriptures.
Yeah.
Is that you are then judged by your thoughts, because your thoughts manifest very easily.
Yeah, that's
In the
when
age
we
of
get
truth.
into the quantum realm.
So so once you're in that age, right, you will be judged. But in the Kali Yuga, of what we went through this dark period of time, you're not judged for your thoughts, only for your actions, right? So be at ease in that.
So and that makes all sense as to why we're learning how to use our thoughts properly on this plane, so that we don't
Well, as we step,
manifest our thoughts into reality and turn into some shitty things.
yeah,
exactly. Well, people are on a different vibration, right? If their thoughts are not on
Yeah.
a correct vibration.
it's all frequency, right? That's how Tesla said to think of the universe,
Tesla,
right? Energy and frequency, right? That's
So there's a
what it is.
man there that Tesla himself, if you talk to Einstein, Albert Einstein, he says, "You think I'm smart?"
Yeah.
Meet Tesla.
Well, Tesla was.
He's like 1,000 times smarter than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I completely get
So,
100%.
Oh,
agree.
Tesla built free energy,
Oh yeah, and that's what.
Yeah,
and they wanted to
rediscovered-
kill for it.
He rediscovered free energy.
Free energy,
Discovery,
yeah.
Well,
Inside of
if
it,
you,
right?
if you watch Ancient Aliens, and I was first fascinated by Ancient Aliens, like all that stuff. When I was a young boy, I seen this show on TV called Chariots of Fire,
Okay.
and they showed this guy flying along, and you could see all these carvings into the rock face down in Peru
Yeah.
that you couldn't see from land. You had to see from air.
Yeah.
And then there's structures that are built.
What are they fucking called?
Well,
What is that whole site called? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
So-
like right up in the mountains of Peru. I know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
The big land. fucking-
yeah, it just keeps happening, right? Because there's one that could fly
Almost
in,
like
the
the
giant
giants.
spider. It looks like the giant
Yeah, it's
spider.
amazing. It's all along as you fly along.
Yeah.
It wasn't until 1954 or some pilot, American pilot, was
Looks
actually
like kids drew it in
flying
the sand.
along and seeing this. Like, you couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's like kids drew it in the sand.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
It's carved out.
Children's drawings.
So as we move through this period, as we come through, right, that's what we call the ekpyrosis, because we have amnesia. There's pyramids all over the world that we don't remember, right? Because that
spiritual.
what happens at the end of every 25,920 years, that solar cosmic year, Surya, the sun, fires out a big fire and blows up everything on Earth and kills everything either in floods or in fire, right? We haven't got to that point yet. That's what we talk about ascension in Christianity is the ascension fire, right? That's the second coming. When Krishna explained that to Arjuna and he gave him the vision, Arjuna saw all the lights and the fires and that. So that's what comes, right? And then because the next age, the age of humans, is an age of energy. Yeah, so we'll be, and I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know how that feels
More
like,
crystalline.
right? But yes, it will be more crystalline. So the fire is still going to, whether it's, that's why they're trying to get the nukes going and all that kind of stuff, because ekpyrosis, right? Like that happens. So every 25,920 years, the sun cooks off, right, in a major way, and then everything on Earth is kind of recycled. And that's what happens. It's a defect with the gravitational switch between us and the planet Sirius ever since whatever. But either way, it happens. So you could study when stars get in alignment. You would think energy, they just start glowing together. So that's what's happening to us right now. It started in 2019, and by 2025, the sun will be ready to pop. Now, whenever it pops, it could be up to 100. I don't know. I have two balls, neither one are crystal, right? But I could read history and I could see it and I could say, well, it's going to pop, right? Yeah. Isaiah talks about this in the Apocalypse of Isaiah in the Bible, because every 422 rotations of Jupiter, right, this happens. A minor one, so there's minor. And so what happened the last time, the winners of it is who we call the progeny of Jove, referred to as the Illuminati, which is the Roman Empire. That's why they have shelters. They hide underground for these things and they come back, right? So the 195 countries in the UN that they're signing over medical treatment for next year is because in 1994, 1995, the same 195 countries said that they would bring the world population down to 800 million by 2032. And why they're doing that, because underground, there's only 800 million people that can survive the ekpyrosis that they see coming, that they know is coming. So they'll take 800 of their chosen and then they'll resurface out of the air, right? Now, there's a couple of theories on this that, and I haven't really been able to understand it, but one of the interesting parts of this is David Wilcox. I do like him. And he was talking about it doesn't have, we've overcome that karma. Finally, the sun is not going to finally destroy us. We've overcome that karma, and that it's going to be something else. So this is more of the Great Awakening. He truly believes that it's not happening, and that there was another sun that already happened to. So now we're not going to be all birds and roasted alive. That humanity has met the consciousness threshold to get ready to step into this new age.
So enough people have reached that consciousness to raise the whole planet.
And that's why
it doesn't matter what these third-dimensional mongoloids are doing. We just drag them.
We have to hold space for them, or we're going to cause a civil war.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't call third-dimensional mongoloids.
I know, I get frustrated too. Right?
I was a third-dimensional mongoloid at one point. Don't get me wrong.
Well, we are, right? But we have to hold space for all beliefs and all things, because that's the idea. Is you're highly evolved. You bring in those people now. It's not, you don't want to judge people for being at these low. You need to hold space and hold them in a space to bring them along. Sometimes I'm tough to people though, right? Like that doesn't mean being soft. I met a guy the other day and I was very harsh with him. I said, no, this is how it is. This is boom, 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 because I knew he kind of needed that, right? With another person, they come to you like, what's going on? You're like, well, let's go slow, right? They give you some ideas, because you don't want to you can't psychologically bring people somewhere. You got to give them a point to kind of grow to this and grow to this. Me and Paul have been trying for years, telling people don't get this, right? And everybody's just like, but now they're starting to understand, right? Yeah.
Well, it's too late.
It's too late.
But it's too late now. And if you've been dragging your heels, you're gonna get smacked in the face with it.
That's it. And
that's all it is.
Right? At the end of the day, it's as I said, I believe everything's between you and our creator.
Yeah.
Right? That's between you. I'm not going to judge you for what you've done or how you've lived your life. I ask you not to judge me, right?
Yeah.
I've repented. I've changed my ways, and now I move forward. Yeah. And all I can do is serve the world the best I can in my own way. And that's all I ask anybody to do. And the people that haven't, I mean, let's hold space for them, because it's going to be sad. There's a possible genocide coming here, right? And we'll see what happens. And that's, I don't mean from what happened, from all the medical assistance they've been giving us for the last little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's but hey,
medical freedom we've been getting.
yeah. Well, can you believe that in Canada though? I can't leave this country. I'm in the biggest prison. This is the only country I can't even leave. Right? I'm in a prison right now. I never thought in Canada, of all places, I'd be locked down and I can't.
Even though it doesn't feel like a prison.
It doesn't feel like a prison. It's a pretty nice, cozy prison. I'll give it that. But it's still the principle of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's it.
It's not the North Korean prison.
No, that's it.
Not yet, anyway.
No, but you see what's happening in China, and that's Trudeau generally admires China, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to go that way. And they're killing your pets if you have COVID. They're doing that right now to the whole households. And just this draconian, I can't understand why it's happening like that over there. But yeah, no, a few more surprises on the year. So Paul's pretty nice, eh?
Yeah, I like
He's
Paul.
a gem, man. I like finding gems. I find gems all over the
He's a
place.
beautiful human being, and it's fucking great to have him around.
He's a very truthful person too. I admire that, right? Because I believe when we tell lies, and like yourself, where I use the medical cannabis, it's easier just to tell the truth because I can't remember my lies anyways, right?
I am not good at lying because, first of all, even if I do tell a lie, it eats me alive inside until I make right
As it
with
should, right? As it should.
So, and I just don't like having it in there. I was thinking about it. I was like, can I really lie to people to get what I want? Am I that type of person? Do I have to be that type of person? If I have to do that to somebody, is that the type of person I want to be around?
Well, that's it, right?
Right? And all these thoughts have been going through my head, and I've decided that, no, I'm just going to be upfront honest. If I make a mistake, I'll own it, and then I'll move on and apologize, or move on and just do whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about it.
No, that's it, right?
Because people are people, and I can just be me.
What time are we going on now?
The boys are coming in to play some music now.
All right.
Where are they now?
Well,
I asked them when are they going to start playing.
Well, I was thinking it's after that. I'll get Paul get going here.
So it's pretty cool. This is interesting when you guys got.
Yeah, well, you never know
How'd
what a
you feel about
podcast
it there,
is.
Paul?
I didn't even know what a podcast was. That gives you an idea.
You don't even have to look at the camera.
No, you don't have to. No.
Oh, they got us all.
Well, the way this podcast works is,
Just casual.
yeah, complete casual. Like, if you have something interesting to say, and you have like a point, we can make it formal in some ways like that.
So do you understand that the sheep that bought into the 6 o'clock news now are all going to pay the price for buying
Oh, yeah.
into
That's,
the BS?
everybody here is pretty weak
Oh,
on that.
Sky-
There should be a little wake on that, right? But, you know, I actually had a dream telling me not to get vaccinated. And I
Portal
listened-
opened 15 minutes ago, he says.
and I listened to my dreams.
This is my buddy Jamie.
I don't.
Actually, Papa, you met him the
Oh,
other day?
yeah. Hey, Jamie.
Calls
good to see
himself
you.
Sky
Yeah.
Runner. Everybody say hi to Jamie,
So,
Hey, Jamie.
my Qigong instructor.
Oh, yeah.
I invite you guys out to Qigong
Yeah,
tomorrow
Ash.
if you want.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in our mocktail for that?
No, we're doing that. In
Sort of like Tai Chi?
Fredericton.
Or?
Oh, for,
Yeah, it's the second half of Tai Chi.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, well, that's what I was trying to
I trained
say.
with a grandmaster in Fort McMurray, Philip Chin's father, that came over from Peoria when I was a young man. I was going to his house and working out in the basement with him and doing the Tai Chi. It improved me with my karate and boxing, actually, because of the holding stances.
Well, it is. But it's also learning to really like that flow of your body movements, right? Like we've talked about that as fighters, right? It's coming from my hips.
Yep.
Right?
And this
My
old guy
hips and my
could,
feet is how I fight.
he's probably in his 70s, and he could kick his foot right up to the ceiling of the basement of his house, like,
Oh
effortlessly. And ironically, tonight I had beef fried rice, and that's what
Hey, Moose
they
Fried
used
Rice.
to give me for breakfast when I went over to that place in the morning. and
Really?
checked out. They used to whip up beef fried rice, and that's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things to eat is beef fried rice.
Wow, I do that all the time
I
too.
love
I just had ground moose in my rice tonight.
Nice.
It was really good. I added some nice Louisiana spicy stuff.
I
to
put
it.
some. What's that lady? That old lady? I put that shit on everything.
yeah.
I put that on there.
Yeah,
Red
hot,
hot.
Red Hot stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
I-
even know if we're allowed to say that on here, but whatever.
Anyway, I
We'll
put it
give a
on
shout
there.
out
It was
to the
pretty
Red
good.
Hot.
It's good. You kick that rice up a notch, I'll tell you that.
My whole thing now is putting Worcestershire sauce and mustard.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Worcestershire I've always liked.
Worcestershire
So anyway,
sauce and mustard.
The secret to this is I took a roast, cut it into
You have my
steaks,
attention.
cut it into steaks, barbecued it. Then I diced up that barbecued roast and put it into my beef fried rice. Just magical flavor. With fresh mushrooms, fresh onions, and seasoning. Man, you gotta try it.
You're making me hungry now.
Oh, it's
And
good.
it's like fucking 20 after 10. I've been working.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of
Working
work
hard.
out today.
I was out in the woods this morning,
I did.
cutting the wood, loading the trailer, and then I
I
got back.
wasn't doing that much.
Right? And then I
doing
brought it
kettlebell
back and
stuff,
I
a little
ran the wood splitter for a few hours, and I'm 60. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a normal 60-year-old.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. You don't look 60.
I don't even look 60.
No, you got nice figure to
I
you.
quit drinking at the age of 25, and I think that
I would
pretty much preserved me or something. I don't know.
Well, the human body is, as Todd will probably correct me if I'm wrong or not, but it's actually engineered to live about 125 years.
Oh, yeah.
At the very least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the very least. And we have stories of people living 900 years in the Bible and whatever. If you want to believe in all of that
Well, I
stuff.
got Methuselah and that lived too. Well, you got to think about the original founders, right? So think of Adam. And Adam was known to have created over 70 languages. You know, this is in ancient Hebrew scriptures and stuff. When I go to Israel next year, you know, I try to let my people go. Let me go to Israel there, Trudeau. But when I go to Israel next year, right? Like I'd like to go. Yeah, let my people go, man. I want to go to Israel.
That's good. Man.
Oh, fuck you, Trudeau.
Yeah.
We're finally gonna get the fuck Trudeau flags.
Oh, I got it.
Right,
you got one in the mail, do you?
Yeah, I got mine.
Well, they're not in the mail yet, but Hannah's gonna order a couple. She's getting one for her room, and then we're ordering one for the house.
But really, just let my people go now, Trudeau, because it's really, I want to go to Israel. There's a thing, I'm going for Passover next year. You know, it's importance of roots. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. Israel's the heart chakra of the world, right? Just like here in North America, it's the Vishuddhi chakra. It's the chakra of justice.
Really?
Yeah, it
Root
really is.
chakras.
Yeah, it's here, right? So when I was in the Himalayas, that's the crown chakra, right? 'Cause it's
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
top. So there's different chakra centers, and there's 36 special magnetic points on Earth, right? One of them is also just up in northern New Brunswick here. There's a couple of actually really good vortexes. Mount Carlton area.
Yeah,
It's a very good vortex when you go for your
I
energy.
felt that there.
A walk on also Sugarloaf Mountain. That's an ancient pyramid from a time we built the house, right? There's a whole bunch of underground stuff under that area.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Right
there's
here in New Brunswick.
oh yeah, there's underground. When they had the earthquakes there about 2 years ago, right? That was special forces destroyed a bunch of dumps here. Unfortunately, I think that
Yeah,
was
that was in Maine, wasn't
Maine and New Brunswick,
it? Okay.
and they felt it here. And we had the
Earthquakes,
yeah,
ladies
well,
and gentlemen.
yeah,
Like there's ever been a fucking earthquake around here.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I've
Canadian
lived
Shield doesn't have
Lived
an
here for
earthquake.
almost 20 years, never fucking had an earthquake.
There's a bunch of earthquakes that happened there. And unfortunately, I heard that 200 special forces soldiers were killed on that one. So, you know, praying for those guys and everything else in that sense. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on in the scenes and stuff. But what everybody has to understand that you can't put your faith in any man, whether it's the Orange Man or anybody else or whoever you're putting your faith into, except for the Most High. Right? That's where you have to. This is the lesson that you need to learn: is that you got to step into faith, that you're connected to the Most High here in your heart, and walk in your truth, stand in your truth. Ascension means truth, standing in truth, walking in holiness. Right? You know, they hated Yeshua, right?
Yeah.
They hated him so much, right? The world hated him. They're going to hate anybody that walks spiritually in the Kali Yuga. They will hate you for walking spiritually. They'll hate you for being what they consider holy or anything else, because they want you to join the craziness of what's going on right now.
Yeah,
And
why people live in fear.
Well,
All
it
these
is.
people are so fearful. They're driving around in vehicles by themselves with a mask on.
Yeah,
They got to be brainwashed.
Like, this is the only city in the province that's actually doing that.
They're absolutely crazy here. They're
Yeah.
driving
Like,
around in
there's fucking
vehicles
all kinds of
by
TikTok
themselves.
fucking videos.
Who are you going to get the COVID from? Yourself in your own car? Like, come
they're
on.
afraid.
Well, right now it's just the old people
They're
I think,
fearful.
around here.
Oh, young
The
people
older
driving around with masks
They're
on.
fearful of the soil, right?
They're scared. They're living in fear.
Well, it's because they're so connected to
They've
this.
been brainwashed.
We're connected to this.
This is
right?
Tom McDonald.
Pardon me?
Do you listen to rap at all or anything?
No, he would be right, guy.
I bought a movie.
You would like Tom
I
McDonald.
bought a movie called 8 Mile so I could understand what rap is because my daughter lives in Detroit.
She
She
likes
sends
rap,
me
yeah.
pictures of
Yeah, she likes
famous rap stars.
Yeah, balls.
Right? She's at parties with people and she says, "Oh, I'm with this guy, Eminem," and I'm going, "Who's Eminem? I don't even know what she's talking about."
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, she- And I send her down coffee crisp, right? Because there's no coffee crisp in Detroit. And she's giving these
She can
rap
go right to
stars.
fucking what is it?
Windsor.
Yeah, she can go
She's
right to
giving
Windsor.
these rap stars the coffee crisp that I sent down to her for a gift.
Really?
And they like them. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
they're thanking me because I sent her coffee.
Well, then that's why you
In
sent the
Detroit.
coffee, Chris.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Oh yeah.
But you would like Tom McGauley. He's got,
Oh, yeah?
he's got a song called Brainwashed.
Cool.
Yeah, you'd like it. I think you would. You'd get into it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
No,
I love music.
well, now
Are
you're
these guys
hungry.
playing now? That's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's what we came in.
I'm all about the music, man. I like music.
Well,
I've always liked
use
music.
music to heal around here. That's,
Yeah.
that's what I get into. Is I'm all about the sound.
Yeah, it is the sound.
The other day I was in my excavator and a song came on the radio and I thought about my son and my tears went down my face was. It just hit me that hard.
Must be painful.
Oh, it's painful. My son was in the military here for 10 years in the army and then he had post-traumatic stress disorder. The military, he loved the army and the military medically released him because of his post-traumatic stress disorder, so he shot himself when he was only 30 years old. I was working in Calgary, it almost killed me. Like, I don't even know how I got on the airplane in Calgary and flew to New Brunswick, or to Halifax, because that's where I flew, without getting drunk. But I never slept on a plane in my entire life. I got on this airplane and I fell asleep. So who's looking out for me? Not me. Because my will for me is self-destruction. God's will for me is for me to be
You have
sober.
an army of people looking at
Yeah. People praying for me. My Sweat Lodge brothers and sisters were praying for me.
your ancestors.
We saw it,
All my
yes.
relations.
We had the white beaver up. Showed
I had
up
a white
in
beaver
place,
come to
yeah.
my property.
That was pretty cool.
A spirit beaver.
Yeah,
Straight up.
Yeah.
Albino beaver.
Didn't have red eyes, was not an albino,
Oh,
was a spirit beaver.
Yeah, white
Really?
beaver.
Swam right to me. Beavers
Made the
swim away
newspaper
from
and took a
people.
few pictures of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I took pictures of it. It made the Fredericton newspaper. People camped out on the road by my house to try and do interviews with me.
But you see, that's closure, not full closure, but this
But
is
it
how
helped me.
spirits talking to us, right? It helped
Yeah.
with that
It helped
healing
me
journey.
It was a big, giant white beaver, and I mean, it was a representation to me of my son. Coming back to say, "Hey, Dad, it's gonna be okay."
But if you go in your yang energy, which is just that masculine, you get into logic, and you're like, oh, it's just a white beaver, right? This is what I'm talking about. We got to find that balance and get into your yin and that feminine energy and connect to your intuition and feel it in your heart, right? It is like that's just
This beaver
spirit's always talking to us.
swam down the river towards me. It gave me enough time to walk up to my truck, get my cell phone, take pictures. And then it was like swimming around in a circle on its back, looking up at me, smiling. And then it sort of gave me this little signal that it was time to go. Dove under the water, and I've never seen it since.
Yeah.
It disappeared.
So yeah, anything
And
that's
even the
white,
chief
like
of
that.
St. Mary's had mentioned that this was a good sign and a closure for me. That's- You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That happened.
Oh yeah, it was
Very powerful. And another time I was in a sweat lodge, I went out of consciousness and I was up above the people. I was floating around inside the lodge, looking down at everybody praying.
that's what the,
Clear as day, buddy.
and that's what the lodge is really good for, right?
Wow.
Well, the lodge is good for that, right? Because it
You
keeps
know,
you separate from your
I've
body.
been clean and sober a long time, so there's no acid, it was no magic mushrooms.
No,
I know what an out of state, altered state of mind and body is, because I did drugs and drank in my youth.
Yeah.
And I was clean and sober when this happened. Like, phenomenal.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
No, it's
I would have never dreamt anything like that could have happened.
35 years, still sober, right? How long has it been
Clean.
since his death now?
It's been 3 years since
3
my
years.
son
So
died.
you still got it,
Right?
right?
You're still holding on.
Still
Working
holding
from
on.
your heart space.
Thanks, brother.
Yes,
yeah.
man. Work that fucking heart space.
Yeah. Love you, Brett. Love you forever. You know what I mean?
Thank you for sharing that story too.
Well,
I hope that everything always works out.
thanks.
Well, I guess that's what we've been on for a couple hours. Look at the old fellow home. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going.
Anyway, it was nice meeting you and
Yeah.
pleasure coming here.
It's a pleasure
Yeah, man.
talking in front of people. And,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
seeing everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
So I'd like to. I don't think Saturday it's going to work tomorrow, but I want to actually. That'd be great if we could actually start coming
Every
out. So
Saturday?
Every Saturday.
Yeah.
Good.
Saturday's better than
So-
Friday for me because I do sweat lodge
Well,
Saturdays
yeah,
on Friday
Friday
nights.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
want to come back.
That'd be a good way to reset after as well.
Oh yeah,
After
it's
Sunday.
great. Yeah.
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 Because I do the sweats on Friday.
Well, it's another element, right? Because the sweat is what element?
Well, you
Fire,
just do that
water.
here at St. Mary's, or is that
Yeah, I
a
get a friend that does them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a lot of neg friends.
Well, let's do. As I said, we just you probably hang out more with the Williston Nation than anybody else around here, right? So
Yeah.
just
And I wrote that for you too.
yeah, I find a lot of the walking in their heart and stuff like that, and I trust them a little bit more than I trust the federal government. So.
Hey man,
Yeah, these days, right?
I don't trust anybody.
Oh.
But well, actually, no, wait. I'm not going to say that. I trust anybody that comes in my presence with an open heart.
Exactly.
Fair
If you
enough.
don't come with an open heart,
Right.
and I can see through your mask,
Yep.
I just see that
walk on home, boy.
politicians in Ottawa, they're
Oh,
sick in their hearts. You know. So every politician, you can see, I feel sorry for them sometimes because they're just so sick inside. Like they really are. That Ottawa whole crowd. The politicians, very rare you can see a politician with anything outside there but like a sickness that they have. They're diseased,
Well, they're after
right?
the money, you know.
They're after the money.
All the money,
disease,
and you'll know
disease,
exactly.
right? They're all- Yeah, well, thanks for having us. brother.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. It was my pleasure. Yes. You guys are more than welcome to come by any other time.
Thank you.
Remember, folks, the lesson of tonight, think from your heart. Right? Let your heart guide you. Let your heart be the strength, and you can accomplish anything. Take it from this man. Take it from this man. Listen to the soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From your heart. That's all it is.
What it is.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Hey, always.
Right on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Tasty jams.
You guys are pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was trying to explain it to him before coming here. He's like, "Wow, what's going on? Like, where are we going at?" So,
Sometimes there's music, sometimes there isn't.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Come in.
Appreciate it, guys. Yeah. I'll see you guys again.
Jay, you still there? We can still keep going. We can still keep going.
yeah, you guys can still keep going for a bit, huh?
The Viking.
You take off?
Yeah.
Stay calm.
Get it back.
Stone hands.
Exactly. I do. You feel my hands?
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm really
There's
strong.
power there.
There's a lot of power. When I used to hit people, they used to fly.
It's like a car, man. Strong hand smells cabbage.
I didn't say the thing there, but I fought pro for quite a few years, and I was undefeated.
Nice.
Just like those guys told me when I was a kid, if I went into it, I'd go all wet.
Tasty jams. Well, if you guys are going to sit on camera, I'm going to turn the camera off. We're going to turn the camera off there. Have a good night there, ladies and gents.